Hey guys, tonight, I want you to get comfortable. Lay back, loosen your shoulders, let your eyes grow heavy, and let your mind drift with me for a moment. Because we're about to take a slow, dreamy step into the past, far past the world you and I know. A world of castles, torches, muddy streets, and strange rules. A world people often romanticize thanks to movies, fairy tales, and those Renaissance festival photos where everyone looks suspiciously clean. Yes, we're going to medieval times. But let's start gently. No swords flying around just yet. No battle horns. Just you, floating between sleep and imagination. We like to picture medieval life as magical and charming, knights riding across green fields, villagers laughing around a warm fire, kings feasting on giant turkey legs like in the cartoons. But the truth? The truth is, that world was tough. Much tougher than any of us realize. It was not a place of soft pillows and clean bed sheets. It was not a place where you could grab a snack from the fridge or complain about slow Wi-Fi. Tonight, as you drift into this story, I want you to imagine what would happen if you suddenly woke up there, in the middle of the 12th century. No warning. No advice. No Google. Just you, dropped into a world with completely different rules. And the big question I want you to think about is this. Would you survive even one full day? Now, don't worry, I'm not here to stress you out. Actually, you can let your mind relax. Think of this as a cozy sleep story, except the story is about how you probably wouldn't make it past sunrise in medieval Europe. Comforting, right? But we'll take it slow. Let's start by setting the scene. Picture yourself lying in bed right now, warm and safe. The room around you is quiet. Maybe there's the gentle hum of your fan or a soft buzz from your phone. And then, slowly, it all begins to fade. The sounds grow quieter and quieter, until they disappear. Your bed seems to sink under you, like a cloud drifting downward, lower and lower, as if you're falling through layers of time. And then, you land. But instead of your clean bedroom, you find yourself standing in the middle of a medieval village. Not a movie village. Not the cute, fantasy kind. No, a real one. A very real one. Which means the first thing you notice is, the smell. There is smoke in the air from cooking fires. There's mud everywhere. There are animals wandering through the streets, chickens, dogs, the occasional pig who looks like he definitely runs this town. And yes, the smell. Not dangerous yet, just strong. You freeze, confused, your senses overloaded as you try to understand where you are. People in rough wool clothes walk by. None of them look like they've had a shower in days, or weeks. Some stare at you, because you look strange. You're clean. Your hair is neat. Your clothes look too colorful, too soft, too, not medieval. A couple kids point at you. Someone whispers something about you being a lost traveler. Another person looks at you like you might be a spirit. Or a tax collector, both equally suspicious. And this is literally the first few minutes. But before we go deeper into the chaos, let's take a breath. Because this chapter is just our landing point, our gentle start. I want to give you a simple map of everything we're going to explore in the rest of the story. Think of it like the world's oldest tour guide whispering to you. Welcome to the Middle Ages. Here are all the many, many, many things trying to kill you. Now, I know that doesn't sound relaxing, but trust me, it'll be fun. And sleepy. And weirdly comforting, because as rough as your day might have been, at least you didn't wake up next to a medieval pig. So here is what's waiting for you in this world. First, there's the food, or the lack of food. The Middle Ages didn't have snacks lying around. Nobody could run to a cafe or order chicken wings at 2 a.m. Most meals were simple, rough, and sometimes, a little suspicious. Bread that could break your teeth. Ale that tasted like someone made it while guessing how brewing works. Meat that may or may not still be good. You get the idea. Then, there's disease. So many diseases. The kind that spread fast, the kind that doctors back then didn't understand at all. They didn't know about germs or bacteria. If you got sick, their treatments might make things worse. Imagine going to a doctor and their solution is basically, let's remove some blood and hope for the best. Comforting. There's also violence. Medieval life could get rough very quickly. People carried knives everywhere. Not because they were dangerous, it was just normal. Like carrying your phone today. Disagreements could turn into fights. Fights could turn into something much worse. And then there were bandits, soldiers, feuds, angry tavern drunks. Basically, conflict was always close. Law and order were different too. If someone accused you of something, even something small, your options weren't great. Trials could be random. Punishments could be harsh. And if you were an outsider with strange clothes and no local lord to protect you, well, good luck. Religion shaped everything. People prayed daily, followed rituals, and obeyed rules that were seen as essential to life. If you said something too modern, too logical, or too skeptical, you might get some very suspicious looks. Labor was constant. No weekends. No 8-hour shifts. People worked from sunrise to sunset. Farming, hauling water, cleaning, weaving, chopping wood. If you refused to help, people might think you're lazy, or again, maybe a witch. A surprisingly common accusation for simply existing in the wrong place. And of course, hygiene. Clean water was rare. Baths were rare. Parasites were, not rare. And yes, you would get some very itchy surprises within just a few hours. Finally, there's the class structure. Medieval society had rules, strict ones. Everyone had a place, from king to peasant. If you speak to someone the wrong way or step somewhere you're not allowed, things could go badly for you. All of that, all these little dangers and challenges, will be part of your journey. But don't worry. You won't face them all at once. This is a bedtime story, after all. We'll explore them slowly. Calmly. With a relaxed, sleepy voice. And a little humor along the way to keep things light. For now, just hold this image in your mind, you, standing in that medieval village, confused, maybe a little scared, definitely uncomfortable, and completely unprepared. People watching you. Animals walking around you. The smell of wood smoke in the air. Somewhere in the distance, a bell rings. And you realize. Your modern world is gone. Just for tonight, let your imagination wander there, gently, safely, as we prepare to see whether you could survive, even one day. Let's continue our slow drift into the past. You've just landed in medieval times. You probably hope to appear somewhere glamorous, maybe inside a castle, or a nice cozy inn with a warm fire. But no. Of course not. You appear in the middle of a muddy village or a noisy little town square, because that's how these time travel stories always go. And the moment you arrive, your senses panic. Let's start with the ground. You look down and realize you're standing in mud. Not mud like after a light rain. No. This mud has history. This mud has seen things. It's mixed with dirt, spilled ale, and whatever the animals left behind. So yes, your shoes, your nice clean modern shoes, are doomed within the first 10 seconds. Then come the sounds. Instead of quiet streets or the gentle hum of electricity, you're hit with a whole medieval orchestra, people yelling, animals squealing, metal clanking, someone hammering something very loudly for reasons unknown. There might even be a baby crying, a rooster screaming, and a random man trying to sell vegetables by shouting directly into your soul. Of course, none of these sounds are organized. There is no rhythm. Just chaos. And then, the smells. Oh, the smells. You take one breath and instantly regret it. There's smoke from cooking fires. There's damp wood. There's sweat, a lot of sweat, because nobody here believes in deodorant. There's the smell of livestock, and the smell of things we will simply call mystery smells, because that makes it easier for your imagination to survive. You try breathing in through your mouth, but that doesn't help either. You can taste the air. It tastes medieval. Before you can process any of this, reality hits you again. This is not a clean place. Not even close. There's no clean air. No quiet corner. No personal space. No soft background music. Just life happening right on top of you, like someone turned up the volume on the Middle Ages to maximum. A man walks past carrying a huge sack on his back. He bumps your shoulder, doesn't apologize, and keeps walking like you don't exist. Two kids run by chasing a chicken, and the chicken seems to be winning. A dog approaches, sniffs you, decides you're boring, and wanders off. You try to calm down. You try to think, okay, this is fine. I can handle this. But you can't help feeling exposed. In the modern world, you're used to privacy, doors that close, walls that keep noise out, air that smells like air. Here, everything happens in the open. People talk, argue, laugh, work, and do all kinds of business outdoors. It's like living inside a market 24/7. And right away, dangers appear. First, an ox cart rolls by, a huge wooden one, pulled by a pair of giant animals that look at you like they're judging your entire life. The cart driver doesn't slow down for you. Why would he? In the medieval world, pedestrians do not have rights. You have to jump out of the way or lose a foot. So you stumble back, almost falling into another pile of, well, let's call it fertilizer. Before you can recover, someone opens a window above you. It's a wooden shutter. It creaks. You look up just in time to witness a bucket of something being dumped into the street. You don't know what it is. You don't want to know. This is medieval life's version of a surprise party, messy, confusing, and directly on your head if you're not careful. You step aside as fast as you can, heart racing. People notice your reaction and stare at you like you're the strange one. For them, this is normal. It's part of the daily routine. Dump and go. Meanwhile, animals walk freely. Chickens peck at the ground. Cats slink around looking suspicious. A goat eyes you like it's thinking of starting a fight. And the pigs, oh yeah, medieval pigs are not cute pink cartoon pigs. They're big, tough, loud, and they walk like they pay rent. They own the street. You're just visiting. All this happens in the first 5 minutes. And here's the thing, your reactions, your instincts, your body language, all of it makes you stand out. When you gasp at the smells, people notice. When you jump out of the way of the ox cart and almost fall, they notice. When you react to waste falling from a window like the sky is ending, they notice. And when you stare with wide modern eyes at the pigs, chickens, carts, and crowds, you look like someone who's either confused, suspicious, or slightly cursed. In a world where strangers are rare and outsiders are risky, that look, your look, is dangerous. Your first instinct is probably fear. Or confusion. Maybe you want to run. Maybe you try to ask someone what year it is. But remember, nobody here speaks modern English. They hear your voice and think you're foreign. Or odd. Or possibly drunk. Your confused body language looks guilty. Your panic looks suspicious. Your attempts to figure things out looks like trouble. A medieval villager is cautious by default. Life taught them to be careful. Anyone strange could be a thief, a spy, or someone carrying disease. Strange behavior doesn't get sympathy, it gets attention. And attention is the last thing you want. Imagine you try to back away from the busy street, hoping to find a quiet place to think. There is no quiet place. Every corner is crowded with something. Someone washing clothes. Someone repairing shoes. Someone yelling at a donkey. You don't get a break. Even your clothes are suspicious. They're too clean. Too well made. Too colorful. Medieval people wear rough wool, dull tones, and sturdy fabrics. You look like someone who belongs in a noble's house, or worse, someone who stole from one. Your panic makes things even worse. You keep spinning around trying to understand where you are, and a few villagers stop what they're doing to watch you. A woman whispers something to another woman. A group of boys laugh, not because they're mean, but because they have never seen someone move like you. Someone who looks lost. Someone who doesn't know the rules of the street. Even the animals can tell you don't belong. A horse snorts loudly, almost as if telling you, "Calm down, stranger." But calming down is hard when the world is pressing in around you. In the modern world, 5 minutes doesn't feel like long. It barely registers. But here, 5 minutes is enough for you to get confused, stepped on, bumped into, nearly run over, almost soaked by falling waste, judged by pigs, stared at by everyone. And all of this, all this chaos, all this noise, all this attention, is only the beginning. If the first 5 minutes overwhelm you this much, imagine the first hour. The first morning. The first full day. Your instincts, your habits, your reactions, all the modern things you do without thinking, put you at risk the moment you open your eyes in this world. So take a breath. Stay calm. Stay quiet. Blend in if you can. Because in medieval times, even your first 5 minutes can decide your fate. Now that you've survived the first loud, muddy, chaotic 5 minutes in medieval times, let's talk about something even more important, and honestly, a bit terrifying. Hygiene. And before you panic, don't worry. I won't describe anything too graphic. This is still a bedtime story. I want you to relax, not curl up in fear. But we do have to talk about what clean meant in the Middle Ages, because it was very, very different from what you and I mean by clean. So take a slow breath. Let's walk through this gently. In the modern world, clean means fresh showers, soap that smells like lavender or coconuts, soft towels, warm water, toothpaste, deodorant, shampoo, and lotions with names like Moonlight Breeze. In medieval times, clean meant, well, not covered in mud at the exact moment. That's it. If your face wasn't brown with dirt and your clothes weren't soaked in sweat, people would actually compliment you. Oh wow, you look very clean today. Meanwhile, you might still smell like yesterday's smoke and last week's chores. Why? Because water itself was risky. In the Middle Ages, most water sources were contaminated. Rivers carried waste from animals, people, and entire towns. Wells weren't much better. Water didn't go through filters, pipes, or treatments. Nobody boiled water to be safe, they didn't even know they needed to. If you drink from a stream in medieval Europe, you are basically drinking everyone's problems. And I do mean everyone. Your modern stomach is simply not ready. Even people who lived back then got sick from water all the time. But they had centuries of slowly built immunity. You're done in a single cup. One sip and your entire digestive system will file a complaint and stop working. This is exactly why medieval folks drank ale, small beer, or watered-down wine instead of water. It wasn't because they loved partying. It was because it was safer. Even children drank small beer. Imagine handing a 6-year-old a cup of weak ale today. You'd get arrested. But in the Middle Ages, that was the healthy choice. Now let's move on to something even more itchy. Parasites. In medieval life, fleas, lice, and worms were as normal as sunlight. Everyone had them. Not having them was weird. If you walked into a medieval home and didn't see at least one person scratching their head, people would be shocked. Clothes, beds, blankets, and even hats were homes for tiny creatures just waiting to meet you. And here's the fun part, they would love your clean modern skin. You would pick up fleas within hours. Lice? Probably by lunchtime. Worms? Give it a day. Maybe less. Imagine going to shake someone's hand. They smile at you. You smile back. Their sleeve brushes your wrist. Boom, congratulations, you now have a new parasite friend. Isn't time travel magical? Now, let's talk about bathing. We like to imagine people never bathed in medieval times. And that's not fully true. They did bathe, just not often, not easily, and not very comfortably. Soap was rare and expensive. It didn't smell nice. It was basically a rock that bullied your skin. Bathhouses existed, especially in towns, but they were communal. Not cute spa communal. More like everybody's in the same giant wooden tub, and nobody knows how clean the water is. Oh, and sometimes bathhouses doubled as other businesses. Let's just say they didn't have the most soothing environment. If you do find a bathhouse and decide to wash, people may stare at you like you're being a little extra. Because most people washed maybe once a week, if they were lucky, and often much less. Many only got proper baths on holidays or special events. You, with your modern habit of daily showers, would feel uncomfortable within hours. Your hair would feel greasy. Your skin would feel dusty. Your hands would look dirty from touching literally anything. You would crave soap like it's oxygen. But people around you would think you look fine. If you ask where you can wash your hands, someone might point toward a bucket of gray water that's been reused 6 times. Good luck. What really makes medieval hygiene dangerous for you isn't just the dirt you can see, it's the invisible world your body isn't built for. Your immune system has been raised in a clean world. Purified water. Antibiotics. Hand sanitizer. Air conditioning. Your immune system is basically a soft modern pet that has never gone outside. Medieval bacteria? Medieval viruses? Medieval parasites? They're the wolves your soft indoor immune system has never had to fight. Even touching a doorknob, a table, a tool, or a piece of clothing could introduce something into your body that it has zero defense against. Think about this, in medieval times, people butchered animals on wooden surfaces that never got sanitized. People wiped their hands on aprons that hadn't been washed in weeks. People coughed into their sleeves and then used those sleeves to serve food. If someone sneezed near you, you just had to accept your fate. And remember, doctors didn't know about germs. If you got sick, they might try bleeding you, which is exactly what it sounds like. Or they might give you herbs. Or they might pray. All nice ideas, but none of them help with the things that would make you sick within hours of landing here. Let's say you manage to avoid drinking the water. And you somehow dodge the fleas. And you stay far away from bathhouses that feel like disease spas. You're still not safe. Because just touching things, yes, even that, could be enough. Touching a door? Dirty. Touching a table? Very dirty. Touching a coin? Extremely dirty. Touching a person? Bold decision. People shake your hand, pat your shoulder, hand you a cup, pass you bread, and every tiny contact is like shaking hands with medieval bacteria. Your modern instinct might be to wipe your hands on your clothes or reach for hand sanitizer. But there is no hand sanitizer. The only thing you can wipe your hands on is your already filthy shirt. The truth is, your immune system would begin to struggle within hours. By the end of the day, you might feel sick. And by the end of the second day, well, let's just say history was not kind to the weak. But don't worry, in this story, you're only here for a day. Just long enough to feel the threat but not long enough to, actually lose the battle. So as you continue walking through this medieval world, remember this simple rule. If it looks dirty, it probably is. If it looks clean, it's definitely still dirty. Everything is a hidden danger. The air. The water. The ground. The people. Even the animals you think are cute. Medieval kittens might look adorable, but trust me, they are tiny furry parasites with legs. But this is all part of the adventure. A strange, uncomfortable, sometimes itchy adventure. And we're only getting started. Take a slow breath right now. A modern breath. Clean air, fresh enough, maybe a hint of dust or perfume, maybe the smell of your blanket or your room. Easy, light, peaceful. Now, imagine the exact opposite. Because in medieval times, the air itself was an enemy. You don't think about breathing in your normal life. You just do it. But in the Middle Ages, every breath is basically a gamble. And your lungs? They would lose that gamble fast. Let's start indoors. Most medieval homes had a fire burning almost all day, not a cute tiny fireplace with a spark guard and a chimney. No. We're talking about a big open hearth sitting right in the middle of the room, on the floor, like a campfire someone decided to build inside their living room. The smoke from that fire was supposed to drift out through a hole in the roof. Supposed to being the key phrase here. Most of the time, the smoke just stayed inside. So if you stepped into a medieval house, your eyes would start watering instantly. You'd cough, wave your hand around like you're fighting an invisible monster, and probably stumble right back out the door. Meanwhile, the people who live there would just smile at you like, "What, you can't handle a little smoke? This is nothing." Some homes were so smoky that people would keep their heads low to avoid the thickest layer hanging near the ceiling. Imagine a world where standing up too straight means you choke on smoke. That was normal. Your hair? It would smell like smoke within 5 minutes. Your clothes? Smoke. Your lungs? Definitely smoke. And that's just the indoors. Step outside, and the air doesn't get better. It just gets different. The streets are full of everything that produces a smell. Animals leave surprises everywhere. Horses, cows, goats, pigs, they all walk freely and leave gifts behind. And nobody picks them up. They just stay there until the rain washes them into mud, or until they dry up and crumble into dust that goes straight into the air, which then goes straight into your lungs. Delicious. There's also waste, human waste. People throw it out of windows. Buckets get dumped into the street. No sewer system. No drains. Just hope it flows downhill and becomes someone else's problem. And that problem is also in the air. And if that's not enough, add rotting food. Trash piles. The smell of animals being butchered. Fish that's been sitting out too long. Old wool drying in the sun. And sometimes, the smell of sickness itself, because illness has a scent. Medieval people knew it. You would smell it too. All of these blend together into one powerful, unforgettable cloud. We can call it medieval perfume, but it's really more like, please hold your breath forever. But of course, you can't hold your breath forever. So you breathe in. And as soon as you do, your lungs panic. They've been raised on filtered air, air conditioning, open spaces, and soft modern life. Medieval air hits them like someone swinging a sack of smoke and germs straight into your chest. First, the smoke inhalation. In medieval homes, kids grew up inhaling smoke their entire lives. Their lungs adapted, not in a healthy way, but in a survival way. Yours wouldn't. Your throat would burn. Your nose would sting. You'd cough so hard people would look at you like you're cursed. Just sitting near a medieval fire for an hour could give you a sore throat for a week. And breathing that air every day? You'd be wheezing by sunset. Then there's the lung irritation from dust, dirt, and city filth. You think modern city smog is bad? Medieval streets would make your lungs call their lawyer. But the scariest part is the diseases floating around in the air. Tuberculosis. Pneumonia. Influenza. These weren't small problems. They weren't simple winter sniffles. They were killers, and they spread easily in crowded, smoky towns. People lived close together. They shared tools, houses, and air. Once someone coughs, the germs move fast. You would walk past a coughing man in the market and inhale trouble instantly. One person sneezes near you, and you might get sick within hours. Your immune system, used to clean environments and modern medicine, would have no idea what to do. Back then, people didn't know how diseases spread. They blamed bad air, or evil spirits, or sin. Meanwhile, bacteria and viruses were having the time of their lives. And all of this, the smoke, the waste, the sickness, isn't rare. It's not the bad part of town. It's everywhere. Rich houses smelled better, but even castles were smoky. Even monasteries had stale air. Even taverns, especially taverns, were thick with smoke, sweat, and the scent of 50 people breathing in one room. Now imagine walking through this world with your modern senses. You would be overwhelmed instantly. The smell alone could knock you out. I'm not joking, medieval travelers wrote about visitors fainting when they arrived in big cities. And those were people from the same time period. Imagine you, a modern person raised on air purifiers and scented candles. You walk past a butcher shop, instant nausea. You walk behind a horse, instant regret. You pass a pile of fish left in the sun, collapse. Someone dumps waste from a window, game over. You would breathe shallow breaths just to survive the scent, which means less oxygen, which means dizziness. You might feel lightheaded. Your stomach might turn. Your head might pound. And people around you? They'd think you're acting dramatic. To them, these smells meant life. Work. Food. Survival. Smoke meant warmth. Dung meant animals. Rotting smells meant trade, cooking, fishing, farming, the normal rhythm of the world. But for you? It's sensory overload. Your lungs want to quit. Your nose wants to resign. Your brain wants to leave your body and go back to the 21st century. And yet, despite all this, medieval people walked around like it was nothing. Because when you smell something every day, you stop noticing it. But you, with your modern nose? You notice everything. So in this chapter, one simple truth becomes clear. Just breathing in medieval times was dangerous. The air carried smoke, dust, germs, waste, sickness, and the smell of a world without plumbing or cleaning products. For you, breathing here would be like running a marathon while someone holds a smoky blanket over your face. But you can relax now, this is only a story. You're safe in your room, breathing clean air, far away from medieval chimneys and smoky kitchens. And now that you've felt the air of the Middle Ages, wait until you find out what they ate. Let's take another slow step into medieval life. You've breathed the smoky air, survived the mud, dodged the pigs, and stayed out of the way of flying chamber pots. Now it's time to face another threat, something you probably didn't expect. The food. If you've ever complained that your dinner was a little bland, or that the fries were too salty, or that the chicken was a little dry, congratulations. You would absolutely not survive medieval cooking. Let's start with the biggest problem. There were no supermarkets, no quick snacks, no refrigerators, no freezers, no grab something from the pantry. Everything depended on season and luck. If it was winter, good luck. You'd be eating whatever survived storage. And whatever survived often meant dried peas, old bread, maybe a little salted fish that tasted like sadness. If it was summer? Great, more variety. But also more rot. Because food went bad fast, and nobody had the tools to stop it. Let's talk about the peasant diet, because that's what you'd most likely face. Peasants lived on grains, barley, rye, oats. Wheat was for the wealthy. Bread was the main food, but this wasn't soft warm bread like you know today. This bread could be hard enough to use as a weapon. Sometimes it got moldy. Sometimes it had bits of millstone grit in it, tiny rocks, because grinding was rough. So eating bread could literally wear down your teeth. Most meals were simple: pottage, a stew made of whatever is available, bread, ale, and maybe vegetables like onions or cabbage. Fruit in season. Honey occasionally. Meat only on holidays or special days. Nobles had more variety. More meat, more spices, more feasts. But do not let that fool you. Their food could be dangerous too. Fancy, yes. Safe? Not always. Now here's where things get dangerous for you. Your modern stomach is soft. Gentle. Used to clean handling, fresh products, cold storage, and expiration dates. Medieval food did not come with expiration dates. It came with hope. Hope that the meat was still good. Hope that the butter wasn't too spoiled. Hope that the bread didn't have a special guest living inside. Let's break down a few medieval food dangers. 1. Medieval bread. Seems harmless, right? Bread is bread. Not here. If the rye was contaminated with ergot fungus, the bread could make you hallucinate, get sick, or even die. Some people in the Middle Ages thought demons were attacking them, but really, they just ate bad rye bread. Your soft modern body would not be amused. 2. Ale. Almost everyone drank ale because it was safer than water. Even kids. But medieval ale was nothing like modern beer. It was thick, cloudy, yeasty, and tasted like someone attempted brewing using a medieval YouTube tutorial, which did not exist. Also, it spoiled fast. You could get sick from drinking ale that was past its safe hour, yes, hour, not day. 3. Meat. Meat was expensive, so when people got it, they used every part. That's fine. The problem was freshness. Without refrigeration, meat went bad fast. People salted it, smoked it, or dried it, but these weren't perfect solutions. Sometimes you'd get lucky. Sometimes you wouldn't. Your stomach would absolutely know the difference. Spoiled fats were common. Rancid smells were ignored. If the meat tasted a little off, people would cover it with spices or sauces. Problem solved, sort of. 4. Dysentery. This wasn't a food item. But it might as well have been. Because everything, hands, bowls, spoons, water, food, could carry bacteria. If you ate the wrong thing, you could end up with dysentery very fast. And in the Middle Ages, dysentery wasn't just an inconvenience. It was a serious, life-threatening condition. You can see why your modern stomach would be crying already. Now let's talk about the danger of refusing food. Let's say a kind medieval family invites you into their home. They offer you a bowl of pottage that looks like mud and smells like onions and hope. You stare at it. Your stomach says, no. Your brain says, please be polite. Your immune system says, we're about to fight for our lives. You might think, maybe I'll just refuse. They'll understand. They will not. Refusing food could look rude. Suspicious even. People might think you're insulting their hospitality. Or that you think you're better than them. Or, worst of all, that you're hiding something, maybe you're cursed, or sick, or a spy. Food was precious. Sharing it meant trust. Saying no meant breaking that trust. So even if the food looks like it crawled out of a fantasy swamp, you'd have to smile and take a bite. A bite that could ruin the rest of your day. Now imagine this scenario. You've been walking for hours. You're thirsty. You want water. But there is no clean water. Your choices are ale. Ale. More ale. If you don't want to drink ale, you might get dehydrated. And in medieval times, dehydration becomes dangerous fast. People working in fields or traveling long distances drank constantly. You, trying to avoid getting sick from medieval ale, might try to just hold on. But that won't work. You'd get dizzy, weak, and then collapse. And if you collapse, people might think you're ill, and they won't want to touch you. Food scarcity also becomes a threat quicker than you expect. Without steady meals, you'd lose energy. Medieval people were used to working hungry. You are not. Miss a meal or two, or eat something your stomach hates, and your whole body would feel the crash. Remember, the medieval world didn't care about comfort. It cared about survival. And here's the scary part. Your survival depends on eating food your body isn't ready for. Refuse meals. You insult people, draw attention, and possibly starve. Eat the meals. You risk stomach problems, infections, and hallucinations. Try to hunt or forage. You'll likely fail, get lost, or get chased by something with horns. You're stuck in a culinary trap. So the question becomes, how long before your modern body gives up? Honestly? Not long. A few hours without safe water, you start to fade. One questionable meal, your stomach waves a white flag. One bad drink, and you're sprinting toward, well, let's not describe that at bedtime. The point is simple. Food in medieval times was survival fuel, not comfort, not pleasure, and definitely not safe. You would need luck, a strong stomach, and maybe divine protection to get through one medieval meal without consequences. So as you drift deeper into this story, picture yourself sitting at a long wooden table, eating hard bread, sipping warm ale, trying not to think about ergot fungus or spoiled meat. And remember, if you make a face, someone might notice. If you refuse, someone will notice. In the Middle Ages, even dinner could get you in trouble. Sleep well with that thought. Take another slow breath. Let your shoulders drop. We're going deeper into medieval life, but gently. Softly. Calmly. Even though the topic tonight is something that could raise anyone's stress level. Medieval health and medicine. Or, to put it another way. How did anyone survive anything back then? Let's begin with the most important thing, there was no germ theory. Nobody knew germs existed. Nobody knew about bacteria or viruses. They didn't understand infection. They didn't know why wounds got worse. They didn't know what caused illness to spread. If someone got sick, people blamed bad air, bad luck, evil spirits, or maybe eating the wrong food on the wrong day. Imagine living in a world where you catch a cold, and the doctor tells you, you probably angered the wind. This wasn't stupidity, people were doing their best with what they knew. But their best was based on incorrect ideas about the human body. And because they didn't know about germs, their treatments, well, let's just say they would not get 5 stars on a medical review website. Let's explore the classics. Bleeding. If you were sick, doctors often cut you open to remove bad blood. You have a fever? They bleed you. Headache? Bleed you. Stomach pain? Bleed you. You stub your toe? Probably bleed you. They believed sickness came from an imbalance inside your body. Removing blood was supposed to restore balance. Sometimes they used leeches, which is slightly less dramatic, but still not ideal. Purging. If bleeding didn't help, they'd go to the next fun option, purging. That means making you vomit. Or giving you something to clear out your bowels. Or both. Yes. You would be empty inside and still sick. Charms and magic. Medicine wasn't only physical. People believed in charms, prayers, herbs, magic words, objects tied around the neck, and all kinds of rituals. Some of these were comforting. Some helped a little. But none of them fixed infections, broken bones, or disease. Herbal remedies. Not everything was useless. Some herbs genuinely helped. Medieval healers used plants like mint, sage, honey, garlic, and certain roots that did give mild relief. But they didn't understand dosage. They didn't always know which plants were safe. And they didn't know how to prevent contamination. So, it was better than nothing. But still not great. Now, let's talk about cuts. Yes. Just cuts. In the modern world, if you get a small cut, you wash it, use a bandage, maybe some antibacterial cream, and move on. You forget about it in 5 minutes. In the Middle Ages, a little cut could kill you. Why? Because dirt carried bacteria your body cannot handle. Tools weren't clean. Water wasn't clean. Hands were never clean. Even the air carried germs. And without any knowledge of infection, people treated wounds with whatever they had around. Sometimes they poured wine on it, surprisingly smart. Sometimes they put butter on it, less smart. Sometimes they stuffed herbs inside, very risky. Sometimes they wrapped it in a cloth that, let's be honest, had not been washed since the last full moon. Your cut could turn red. Then swell. Then fill with pus. Then spread. That spreading? That was deadly. Things like sepsis, staph infections, or tetanus were unstoppable. A small cut on your finger could become a life-threatening problem in a matter of days, or even hours. And it happened often. Now let's talk about something painful to hear: child mortality and lifespan. People didn't all die young like some myths claim. Many adults lived into their 50s or 60s if they survived childhood and avoided accidents. But childhood was the fragile stage. Many children didn't survive past age 5. Disease, infection, poor nutrition, and bad luck took many lives early. Families expected this reality. It was heartbreaking, but it was life. Adults faced danger too. A broken leg could mean death. A deep cut could mean death. A bad winter could weaken you enough to never recover. Life expectancy wasn't short because people aged fast, it was short because the world was dangerous in ways we barely understand today. Now let's step into a medieval hospital. If you're imagining clean beds, doctors in white coats, and the smell of disinfectant, erase that image completely. Medieval hospitals were more like religious shelters, places run by monks or nuns where the goal was to comfort the sick, not cure them. The main tools were prayer, simple food, and basic care. People lay in large halls with many beds close together. There was no privacy. Diseases spread easily inside these halls. Many people died there. It was more like a resting place for the ill, not a place to get treated. Some surgeries existed: amputations, setting bones, removing arrows, but without anesthesia. Just imagine that pain. They did their best, but tools weren't sterilized, and infection almost always followed. In short, a hospital was a place where you went if you were either very lucky or very desperate. Now picture yourself in this world. Let's say you're helping someone carry a bucket of water. Your hand slips. A wooden edge scratches your skin. It seems tiny. You shrug it off. In the modern world, you wouldn't even think about it. In medieval times, that tiny scratch is a serious threat. Dirt enters the wound immediately. Your immune system goes to battle. Spoiler, it's not trained for medieval germs. By evening, the cut might swell. By the next day, it might throb with pain. A medieval healer might smear something on it, honey if you're lucky, mud if you're not. If the infection spreads, you could develop fever, chills, weakness, and confusion. And in the Middle Ages, confusion was not a good sign. People didn't know what sepsis was. They only knew that when someone's mind became cloudy, the body usually followed. And here's the scary truth. In medieval times, you don't get second chances. No antibiotics. No antiseptic. No painkillers. No clean tools. No trained doctors. No knowledge of germs. So that simple injury you ignored? The one you wouldn't even mention in your normal life? It could end you. Fast. But don't let this scare you too much. This is still a bedtime story, after all. You're safe in your bed. You're breathing clean air. Your world has medicine, doctors, hospitals, knowledge, and treatments the medieval world couldn't dream of. If anything, learning about medieval health should make you extra grateful for your world when you wake up tomorrow. Still, as we move deeper into this medieval journey, remember this. In a world without science, without hygiene, without medicine, and without understanding, survival depends on luck, instinct, and sometimes just being in the right place at the right time. And you still have a long medieval day ahead. Let's drift a little deeper into your medieval day. So far, you've survived the air, the food, the hygiene, and maybe even a few aggressive chickens. But now you face something even trickier. Something you can't see, can't smell, can't touch, but it controls everything. The social structure. Think of medieval society like a giant ladder. A ladder you absolutely cannot climb. A ladder you shouldn't even look at too confidently. And every step on this ladder belongs to someone: king, lord, knight, clergy, merchant, peasant, and finally, at the bottom like glue on the floor, the serf. Knowing your place wasn't just good manners. It was survival. Let's walk through this world together, slowly, calmly, like a bedtime stroll, just one where every wrong move could get you yelled at, beaten, or tossed into a ditch. First, let's talk about the social ladder itself. At the very top sits the king. Far above your reach. Far above almost everyone's reach. In fact, most people never even saw the king. The king might as well be a myth or a very expensive rumor. Below the king were the lords. They owned the land. They ruled over towns and villages. They controlled taxes, justice, and the soldiers who enforced their rules. If a lord rode past you, you stepped out of the way immediately, and bowed your head too. Eye contact? Brave move. Too brave. Then came the knights. Imagine professional athletes with swords. They trained for war, rode horses, and served the lords. They were respected, feared, and sometimes unpredictable. A knight having a bad day could take it out on anyone below him. Below them, you had the clergy, priests, monks, bishops. They didn't fight, but they had power. Spiritual power. Social power. They were educated, and they controlled the rituals that everyone believed kept the world in balance. Insulting a priest? You do not want to know the consequences. Then the merchants, busy, money-minded, and often living in towns. They weren't noble, but they had coins. And in medieval times, coins could solve problems faster than prayers could. Below them were the peasants, everyday workers. Farmers. Shepherds. Carpenters. The backbone of medieval life. Hard-working, tough, tired, and always watching the weather with fear in their hearts. A bad harvest meant hunger. And at the very bottom? Serfs. Not slaves, but not free. They worked the Lord's land, lived on the Lord's land, owed the Lord everything, and couldn't leave without permission. They were tied to the soil like plants. Now, where do you fit into this ladder? Nowhere. Which is very bad. People in the Middle Ages could spot unranked weird stranger energy instantly. You don't dress like a peasant, but you don't act noble either. You don't know the rules. You don't know who to bow to. You don't know whose land you're standing on. And everyone is watching you. Let's talk about the first big danger. Not understanding your place. In modern life, you can talk casually to anyone, your boss, a stranger, even a celebrity if you bump into one. You might greet people with confidence. You might ask questions freely. Do that in the medieval world? Congratulations, you will get yelled at. If you speak to a noble like you're on equal terms, that's insolence. If you approach a knight without permission, that's disrespect. If you look a lord directly in the eye, someone will gasp and drag you away. You might think you're being friendly. They might think you're being bold, dangerously bold. Now let's talk about addressing people the wrong way. Words carry weight here. Titles matter. Tone matters. The wrong greeting could cause real trouble. Say hello to a noble like your buddies. You could get beaten for insolence. Call a priest sir instead of father. Suspicious. Forget to remove your hood, lower your gaze, or show enough respect. People will think you're arrogant, or insane. Even saying too much can be dangerous. Medieval people value silence from lower ranks. And you? You talk way too much by medieval standards. Now let's look at forbidden actions, things so normal for you that you wouldn't even think about them. Speaking out of turn. If two nobles are talking, you do not speak. If a priest is lecturing, you do not interrupt. If a lord is giving orders, you stay silent. If you speak at the wrong time, people might treat you like you're either rude or possessed. Touching tools. You might see a tool lying around, a hammer, a bucket, a rope, and think, oh, I'll help. Nope. Every tool belongs to someone. Touching it without permission is a big offense. They might accuse you of theft instantly. Stepping onto private land. Almost all land belonged to someone, a lord, a farmer, a monastery. You couldn't just wander around. Try walking through a field. A farmer might chase you with a stick. Step into a noble's garden. You could be arrested. Imagine being punished for standing in the wrong patch of grass. Now let's talk about your personality. Your modern confidence, your casual friendliness, your habit of looking people in the eye and smiling. In medieval times, these traits are dangerous. You smile at a stranger. They wonder what you want. You speak confidently. They think you're challenging their status. You ask a noble a question. They think you're mocking them. You act relaxed around a knight. They will definitely think you're insane. The biggest problem is this. In your world, confidence is a strength. In their world, confidence from the wrong person is a challenge. People lived in a strict hierarchy that kept everything in order, social, political, and even religious. Acting outside your place means you're breaking the invisible rules that everybody else understands. Let's imagine a simple scene. You walk into a medieval tavern. You sit down. You say, "Hey, how's everybody doing tonight?" The whole room falls silent. Someone whispers, "Who does this person think they are?" Another whispers, "Are they a lord in disguise?" Another whispers, "Maybe they're drunk already." A man at the table says, "Watch your tongue, stranger." You smile nervously. Bad move. He thinks you're mocking him. This is the constant dance you must perform, knowing when to speak, when to look down, when to move aside, when to behave like you're invisible. Every second really is a test. Modern you walks through life like a free agent, comfortable, equal, confident. Medieval you must shrink, bow, whisper, avoid eye contact, avoid attention, and pray you don't accidentally insult someone with a higher rank. And trust me, everyone has a higher rank than you. So as you wander through medieval life, remember this. You're not just navigating mud and smoke and strange food. You're navigating invisible rules older than your great-great-great ancestors. And breaking even one of those rules could change your day, or end it. But don't worry. This is still just a story. You're safe, warm, and far away from knights with bad tempers. For now. Take a soft breath. Relax. Because the next part of your medieval day is confusing. Not dangerous in a sharp sword way, not dangerous in a burning house way, but dangerous in a no one understands a single word coming out of your mouth way. Welcome to medieval language, where almost everything you say is wrong. Let's start with the basics. In the Middle Ages, people did not speak the English you know. Not even close. Depending on where you land, you might hear Middle English, kind of English, but also not. Old French, spoken by nobles. Latin, spoken by clergy and educated people. Local dialects, thick accents, tiny villages, wildly different words. So if you walk into a medieval village and say, "Hi, excuse me, can you help me?" They will stare at you like you're speaking, well, alien language. Because to them, you basically are. Modern English is a whole different creature. It would sound to them like fast, strange, shiny nonsense. They wouldn't understand your words, your grammar, your tone, or even your accent. You try to ask, "Where am I?" They hear something like, "Where is, and they think, "Is this person okay?" You try, "I need water." They hear, "Need water?" Which means nothing. Your best guess is to switch to simpler words, slower speech. But even that won't work. And here's the funniest part. Even if you did speak Middle English correctly, medieval people from different regions sometimes couldn't understand each other either. England alone had dozens of dialects. A villager from the north might not understand someone from the south. So you, a mysterious stranger with weird clothes and weird words? You are beyond confusing. But here's the plot twist. Silence is suspicious. Let's say you realize you can't talk to anyone, so you decide to stay quiet. Maybe you nod. Smile. Point. Use hand gestures. Try to blend in. Bad idea. Because in the medieval world, silence wasn't normal. Silence suggested, "You're hiding something. You're slow-witted. You're cursed. You're sick. Or you're a spy." And none of these are good options. If someone asks, "Who's your lord?" and you say nothing, they panic. If someone asks, "Where are you from?" and you shrug, they panic even more. And if someone asks, "What is your name?" and you hesitate, they think you're lying. Silence makes you mysterious. And mysterious people in the Middle Ages did not survive long. So you try the opposite option. You talk. And that's suspicious too. The moment you open your mouth, you reveal your strange accent. Your strange pronunciation. Your strange words. You might speak English, but you sound like a person from the future, because you literally are. Let's imagine a simple interaction. A farmer approaches you and says something like, "Wa ye see kin, traveler?" You smile and say, "I'm just trying to find some help." They hear, "I'm just trying to find some." Zero meaning. Pure chaos. The farmer's face changes. He squints. He leans back. He whispers to someone next to him. Now 2 other people stare at you. Great. Then you try again. You slow down, break your words into tiny pieces. "I need water." They hear, "Ni, wa, ta." This does not help. You try pointing to your mouth and pretending to drink. This helps a little. But now you look like someone acting out a strange street performance. And here's the medieval problem. Miscommunication is dangerous. These people live in a world where misunderstandings have real consequences. If your speech sounds odd, they think. Maybe you're from a foreign land. Maybe you're simple-minded. Maybe you're faking something. Maybe you're possessed. Maybe you're speaking in a coded way. Maybe you're a spy. Maybe you're practicing witchcraft. Yes. Witchcraft. If you accidentally say a word that vaguely resembles a Latin prayer or a French noble phrase, people might think you're chanting something. If you speak too smoothly, you might sound like someone trying to cast a spell. If you speak too sharply, they might think you're cursing. And if you speak too much, you sound like a madman. You see the problem? Open your mouth, suspicious. Keep your mouth shut, also suspicious. You are trapped. Let's imagine another scene. You try to be friendly. You wave at someone. You say, "Good morning." That simple greeting could be misunderstood in so many ways. Maybe you sound too cheerful. Maybe your tone is too casual. Maybe you accidentally sound like you're mocking their hard life. Maybe they think you said something rude. Medieval people didn't read moods like modern people do. Tone mattered. Respect mattered. Order mattered. If a peasant sees you acting like an equal, they freak out. If a noble hears you act too casual, they get angry. And if a priest hears you speak strange words that sound almost but not quite like Latin, you might find yourself being examined by the church. Not fun. Let's take it even further. Accusations came quickly. Someone might whisper, "He talks strangely." Another might reply, "Maybe he's bewitched." Another says, "Maybe he's the one causing trouble in the village." Someone else, "He could be a devil in disguise." People believed in spirits, demons, witches, curses, omens. Everything had meaning. So your strange speech pattern? That's a big problem. Even small misunderstandings could spiral. You ask for food, they think you're demanding. You say, "Thank you," too loudly, they think you're mocking. You ask, "Where am I?" They think you're pretending not to know. You shout, "Help!" They think you're starting a fight. The truth is simple. In medieval times, language is a trap. You can't use your words the way you're used to. You can't rely on people understanding your meaning. You can't talk your way out of problems. Every sound you make, every sentence you try, every confused word that slips out, can get you into trouble. So what do? You speak quietly. Slowly. Carefully. Mostly with gestures. Mostly with humility. Mostly hoping no one asks you anything complicated. Because, ironically, the safest thing in medieval life is saying almost nothing. But even that doesn't fully save you. Because in this world, silence is strange. Speech is dangerous. And you, with your modern voice, are the strangest thing of all. Take a slow, deep breath. Because the next part of your medieval journey isn't about mud or smoke or strange bread. It's about something far more unpredictable. Medieval justice. And yes, I put justice in quotes on purpose. In your modern world, laws are written, judges are trained, lawyers exist, and you get things like trials, evidence, rights, appeals, all those comforting safety nets. In medieval times, justice was fast, rough, often unfair, and sometimes based on nothing more than one angry villager pointing at you and yelling, "He did it." Let's walk through this carefully, calmly, like it's still a bedtime story, just one where you could end up in stocks if you sneeze wrong. Local courts, quick and harsh. Most legal matters were handled in local courts, run by the village lord or a representative. These weren't big stone buildings with judges in robes. They were simple gatherings, sometimes in a hall, sometimes outdoors, sometimes wherever the Lord felt like sitting. Cases were decided fast. Very fast. Most trials lasted minutes, not hours. A man says, "This stranger trespassed." You say, "No, I didn't." The Lord shrugs and says, "Punish him anyway." Boom. Case closed. Evidence? Rare. Rights? None. A defense attorney? Absolutely not. The goal wasn't fairness, it was order. And keeping order sometimes meant punishing people just to show that the rules mattered. Now let's talk about the crimes you could be accused of. Spoiler, all of them. Common crimes in the Middle Ages. 1. Vagrancy. This is a big one. If you're traveling without papers, without a lord, without a known origin, you're a vagrant. A suspicious wanderer. A potential thief. Possibly a spy. Definitely a problem. And guess what? You technically are a vagrant. You appeared out of nowhere. Vagrancy alone could get you punished. 2. Poaching. This is more dangerous than you might think. Every forest, every field, every rabbit, every deer, they belong to someone. Usually a lord. And taking anything without permission was a crime. You might just be walking through a forest, admiring the trees, when suddenly someone shouts at you for looking at the deer with bad intentions. That's poaching. Punishable by mutilation or even death in some places. 3. Blasphemy. Say one wrong thing about the church, and people panic. This wasn't just rude, it was a real crime. If you accidentally say something too logical, too modern, too scientific, or too casual about religion, someone might accuse you of disrespecting God. And that accusation spreads fast. Now here's the fun part, you don't even need to do anything wrong. Someone just needs to think you might have. Accusations based on rumor or appearance. Let's say you walk into a village. People whisper. He talks weird. He dresses strange. He came from nowhere. He doesn't know our customs. Someone decides you look suspicious. Another person joins in. Another adds some drama like, "I saw him near my chickens." Someone else says, "He must be hiding something." Next thing you know, you're standing in front of a court, trying to explain yourself. In modern English. To medieval people. Who already think you're guilty. Rumors were dangerous. People didn't need proof to accuse you. They just needed a bad feeling. And the punishments? Oh, they were creative. Public punishments, stocks, whipping, branding. The Middle Ages loved public punishments. The goal wasn't just to hurt you, it was to entertain, embarrass, and warn everyone watching. Stocks. Your hands and head locked in wooden boards on the street. People throw old food at you. Kids poke you with sticks. Dogs sniff you. Basically, it's medieval social media, but with more humiliation. Whipping. A public whipping wasn't just painful, it marked you as trouble. People avoided you afterward. Merchants wouldn't sell to you. You became that stranger who got whipped. Great reputation starter. Branding. Some crimes got you branded with hot iron. The letter T for thief. Or V for vagrant. Imagine being marked forever because someone felt you looked suspicious. And now the worst part. You, a modern stranger, fit every medieval red flag. Let's list your problems. You have no lord. You have no papers. You have no explanation for where you came from. You have a strange accent. You don't know the rules. You walk around with modern confidence. You're confused all the time. You look lost. And your clothes look weird. If this were medieval law enforcement, they would say, "Yep. Definitely suspicious." Imagine a villager approaches a guard. "There's a stranger in the market." Guard, "Whose man is he?" Villager, "No one knows." Guard, "Where is he from?" Villager, "No idea." Guard, "What does he say?" Villager, "Nothing useful." That alone is enough for an arrest. Even if you did nothing wrong. Because medieval law didn't care about innocence. It cared about safety. And you, with your strange behavior, don't look safe to them. Let's play out a scenario. You're walking toward a well. A woman sees you. She watches your strange clothes. Your strange walk. Your strange confused face. She whispers to her neighbor. By the time you reach the well, 10 people are watching you. One whispers, "He might be a thief." Another whispers, "He might be cursed." Another, "He doesn't belong here." The next morning, you're standing before the Lord's court. You try to explain, "I'm just traveling." But no one understands your accent. Your meaning is lost. Your gestures look frantic. Your voice sounds foreign. Someone says, "I saw him near the chickens yesterday," which you know is false, but the court doesn't care. And that's how you end up in the stocks. For being confused. In a world that hates confusion. In the modern world, you can talk your way out of things. In the medieval one, talking only makes things worse. So as you relax into this bedtime story, remember. The medieval justice system didn't need facts. Didn't need logic. Didn't need proof. It only needed a rumor. A guess. Or one villager pointing at you on a bad day. And for a stranger like you, every day could be a bad day. Take a slow breath. You've made it through medieval food, law, language, and everything else this world has thrown at you so far. But now we need to talk about something you cannot ignore in the Middle Ages. Violence. And not movie-style violence with dramatic music and careful choreography. No, this is real, messy, unpredictable medieval violence. The kind that shows up without warning and disappears just as fast. Let's start with something simple. Everyone carried weapons. And I mean everyone. Knives were normal tools, for eating, cutting, fixing, carving, and, yes, fighting. People carried knives the way modern people carry phones. You'd see knives on belts, in boots, hidden in sleeves. Farmers had sickles. Shepherds had staffs. Carpenters had heavy tools that doubled as very solid weapons. Even children sometimes carried small blades. So picture yourself walking through a medieval village. Modern, unarmed, confused. And around you, dozens of people with knives. Sleep well with that thought. Tavern brawls. If you think bars today get rowdy, medieval taverns were on a whole different level. Taverns were crowded, smoky, loud, and full of tired people with short tempers. And alcohol, sometimes strong, sometimes badly brewed, always unpredictable. A tavern fight could start because someone bumped into someone. Or spilled a drink. Or looked at someone the wrong way. Or existed too close to someone already having a bad day. Tables flipped. Stools thrown. Knives drawn. People shouting things you don't understand. And you, the confused time traveler, standing in the middle? Yeah, bad place to be. Street fights. Violence didn't only stay inside taverns. It happened in markets, on roads, near wells, inside churches, outside churches, basically anywhere two humans could disagree. Medieval life was stressful. Work was hard. Food was scarce. Tempers were quick. Arguments often turned physical before anyone even tried to calm down. You bump into someone accidentally. Modern you, "Oh, my bad. Sorry." Medieval them, you dare? A simple shove could turn into a full fight. A full fight could turn into a feud. A feud could turn into something that lasts generations. People remembered everything. Feuds. Families held grudges like they were precious treasures. Someone insults someone. Feud. Someone cheats someone. Feud. Someone looks at someone's cow in a suspicious way. Feud. Feuds could lead to ambushes, night attacks, and revenge fights. And guess what? If you land in the wrong village at the wrong time, people might think you're connected to a feud, even though you have no idea what's happening. Bandits on roads. If you think medieval violence inside the villages is bad, wait until you go outside them. Roads were dangerous. Very dangerous. Bandits hid in forests. Highwaymen blocked roads. Groups of desperate people survived by attacking travelers. And you? A stranger, unarmed, walking alone, with no horse, no guard, and no knowledge of the land? You'd be the easiest target ever. Bandits didn't care if you had nothing. They'd check anyway. And if you couldn't explain yourself, and you can't, they might assume you're hiding something. Peaceful travel was rare. People moved in groups for a reason. Your physical strength versus medieval laborers. There's another problem. Medieval people were strong. Really strong. Not gym strong. Not, I lift twice a week, strong. But, I carry heavy things every day or my family starves, strong. They spent their lives farming, chopping wood, hauling water, lifting tools, pulling carts, and doing hard labor. Their bodies were built for physical survival. Meanwhile, you? You probably sit in chairs. Type on keyboards. Use cars, buses, or elevators. Your hands are soft. Your spine enjoys comfort. Your arms know what pillows are. If you got into a fight with a medieval farmer, even someone half your size, they would win in about 3 seconds, without trying. Their grip strength alone would shock you. Their endurance would destroy you. Their pain tolerance would terrify you. You simply cannot fight these people. Even if you tried. How disputes turn deadly fast. You might think, I'll just avoid violence. Nice idea, but medieval fights didn't always give warnings. Let's imagine a simple situation. You're walking in a market. Someone bumps you. You turn and say, "Hey, sorry." But your accent? Strange. Your tone? Unclear. Your look? Odd. A man scowls. What did you say? You try to repeat yourself. He hears something different. He thinks you insulted him. He steps forward. His friends step forward. You back up slightly. They think that means guilt. This is medieval logic. A shove becomes a punch. A punch becomes knives out. Knives out becomes a blood feud. Medieval people did not argue with words the way we do today. They argued with fists, tools, and whatever they were holding at the moment. Honor mattered. Reputation mattered. Nobody wanted to look weak. The rules of dueling, honor, and retaliation. Dueling wasn't just for nobles. Common people also settled disputes through fights with rules, or half-rules. Honor mattered so much that refusing a fight could look worse than losing one. If someone challenged you, you can't just say, "No thanks," unless you want the entire village to view you as weak, shady, or suspicious. And if someone hurt you, you were expected to get revenge, or your family was. Retaliation was part of life. Violence ran in circles. And you? You don't know the rules. You don't know the signals. You don't know when someone is joking or threatening. You don't know when a gesture means peace or fight. You could insult someone without meaning to. You could challenge someone without knowing it. You could signal surrender the wrong way. In short, your modern social skills are useless here. Why this threat never goes away. Violence in medieval life wasn't a rare event. It was always nearby. Always possible. Always simmering under the surface. People didn't rely on police forces, because there were none. People protected themselves. People fought for themselves. People defended their honor with fists and blades. And for you, dropped into this world with no strength, no weapons, no skills, and no idea what's happening. It's terrifying. So as you lie in your bed listening to this story, remember this gentle truth. In medieval times, even simple moments, a spill, a shove, a glance, could spark a fight. And in a world full of knives, strong laborers, bad tempers, and wounded pride, you're the most fragile thing in the village. But don't worry. For now, you're safe here in the modern world. Warm, unarmed, and far from medieval fists. Take another slow breath. You've survived medieval food, language, law, and violence. Now we step into something even more powerful, something that shaped every moment of every day in medieval life. Religion. And not just going to church on Sunday, religion. This is religion as the absolute center of existence. Religion that ruled laws, thoughts, fears, hopes, and every decision people made. So let's ease into this gently, because this part of medieval life is intense. Soft voice, calm mind, even though the Middle Ages were anything but calm when it came to faith. The Church's authority over daily life. In the medieval world, the Church was everywhere. It wasn't just a building. It wasn't just a weekly event. It wasn't even just a belief system. The Church was the government, the news, the school, the moral code, the judge, the counselor, the guardian of the afterlife, all wrapped into one. People woke up with prayer. Worked with prayer. Ate with prayer. Feared God. Depended on God. Explained everything with God. Bad weather? God's warning. Illness? God's test. A good harvest? God's blessing. Your cow sneezes? Probably God again. Church bells controlled the rhythm of the day. Priests held deep respect. Monasteries kept knowledge. And the Church had real power, the power to punish, forgive, bless, accuse, and control. And here you are. A modern person who hasn't memorized one single medieval prayer. Beliefs about signs, omens, and witches. Medieval people didn't need science to explain things, they had signs and omens. A bird flying the wrong way? A sign. A strange dream? A message. A sudden storm? God is angry. A cat staring at you funny? Probably a witch. People believed in curses, demons, spirits, angels, and magical forces. And they didn't see these as fantasy, they saw them as real. Just as real as the mud under their feet. Now imagine you show up in this world with your modern calmness, your habit of saying, well actually, that's not scientifically proven. Oh boy. How your modern logic gets you in trouble. Let's pretend you're watching villagers point at an eclipse, panicking, saying the sky is sending a message. You, being modern, say something like, relax, it's just the moon passing in front of the sun. They hear. This stranger knows too much about the darkness magic. Or maybe the priest says a man got sick because God is testing him. You say, actually, it's probably bacteria. They hear. This person knows demons by name. Or maybe someone says their goat is cursed. You say, maybe it's just sick. They hear. He denies the powers of spirits. Your modern logic, even the innocent kind, sounds dangerous. Suspicious. Unnatural. In the Middle Ages, questioning divine explanations was seen as arrogance. or pride, or evil, or sometimes, witchcraft. Religious rituals you're expected to know. This is where things get really hard for you. Medieval people followed a strict system of rituals. Crossing themselves at certain moments. Kneeling during prayer. Naming saints. Understanding holy days. Repeating memorized lines. Following church customs. Knowing when to bow, when to stand, when to be silent. Even peasants, who were illiterate, knew all these rituals by heart. It was part of everyday life. And you? You don't know a single one. Imagine walking into a church service. The priest starts chanting in Latin. Everyone kneels. You're still standing, confused. Then everyone stands again. You're still kneeling. Then they all cross themselves. You scratch your nose instead. Within 3 minutes, you look suspicious. Religious rituals weren't optional. They weren't nice traditions. They were rules you had to follow without error. Not knowing them made you stand out like a giant neon sign that says, "Hi, I'm from the future." Which, sadly, is not a good thing to admit here. The danger of asking the wrong questions. You might try to learn. You might ask villagers, "Why do you say this prayer?" Or, "How do you know this saint does that?" Or, "Why do you think the comet is a curse?" These innocent questions can sound like mocking their beliefs, doubting the church, challenging divine authority, or trying to gather information for questionable reasons. In a world fearful of evil spirits, the wrong question was enough to raise panic. And if you ask a priest the wrong thing, like, "Why does this work?" or "How do you know?" he might wonder if you're trying to test him, or accuse him, or trick him. You don't mean to be suspicious. But you are. In the medieval world, curiosity was risky. Too much curiosity looked like pride, a sin. Too much questioning looked like heresy, a crime. Modern you versus medieval faith. Let's picture a simple scene. You're standing with villagers who are praying for rain. You whisper, "Actually, rain depends on air pressure." Everyone turns. Everyone stares. Someone steps back, making the sign of the cross. Someone whispers, "He knows dark things." Someone else whispers, "He mocks the heavens." And someone, far in the back, is definitely thinking, "Which?" You try to fix it. "No, I'm not mocking anything. I'm just explaining." But explaining sounds like challenging. Your calm, logical voice sounds arrogant. Your need for scientific clarity sounds rebellious. Your natural curiosity sounds suspicious. Everything comes down to this. In the Middle Ages, religion was the air people breathed. It shaped their thoughts, fears, and hopes. It explained their world. It gave them security and meaning. So when you show up with no rituals, no prayers, no understanding, too many questions, too much logic, and an accent no one recognizes, you look like a threat. Not because you are one, but because your presence doesn't fit their world. And in medieval times, anything that didn't fit, anything unfamiliar, was dangerous. So as you lie in bed listening to this story, remember this gentle truth. Medieval people weren't trying to be harsh. They were trying to survive a world filled with mystery, fear, and faith. And in that world, even the wrong question whispered at the wrong moment could turn a peaceful village into a storm. But for now, you can relax. You're in the modern world, where asking questions is safe. In the medieval world, though, your curiosity might get you into more trouble than any sword ever could. Take a slow breath and stretch your fingers. Because now we're stepping into one of the hardest parts of medieval life, the part that would break you faster than bad water, strange food, or angry villagers. Work. Real work. Work that starts at sunrise and doesn't end until the sun is gone. And there are no weekends. No lunch breaks. No mental health days. The only break you get is sleep, and even that is questionable. So let's ease into it gently, like a soft bedtime walk, through a world where your entire day is filled with tasks your modern body is absolutely not prepared for. A medieval day starts at sunrise. The moment sunlight touches the sky, medieval people are already up. They don't have alarm clocks, they have roosters, bells, and the pressure of survival. You don't sleep in. You can't. There is too much to do. Picture yourself waking up in a small room that smells like hay, smoke, damp wood, and a hint of goat. Your body is sore from sleeping on a straw mattress. You try to stretch and hit a wooden beam. Welcome to the Middle Ages. You step outside, and the whole village is already moving. Firewood being chopped. Animals being fed. Water being carried. Tools being sharpened. Meanwhile, your modern brain is thinking. But I just woke up. Too bad. Your day has already started. Exhausting physical labor. Every job in medieval life is physical. Every single one. Even basic chores feel like gym workouts. Carrying water from the well? That's your morning arm day. Chopping wood? Your afternoon strength training. Weeding the field? That's your yoga, stretching, and squatting session. Hauling grain? Congratulations, you're doing deadlifts. People in the Middle Ages were strong because they had to be. Their bodies were tools. Their muscles were their survival. Your modern body, used to chairs, cars, keyboards, and microwaves, would start complaining immediately. Imagine lifting a bucket of water. Seems simple, right? Except the bucket is wooden, heavy, and full. Water sloshes everywhere. Your hands hurt. Your shoulders burn. You spill half the bucket on your shoes. Nobody cares. You have to go back for more. And that's just task number 1. Why you're unprepared for even basic tasks. Let's walk through some common medieval jobs. Grinding grain. Grain doesn't magically turn into flour. You must grind it by hand. With a heavy stone. 4 hours. Your arms will cry. Your back will cry. You might cry too. A medieval woman grinding grain every day had more upper body strength than most modern gym enthusiasts. Hauling water. Wells are not next to houses. They are usually far away. You must carry buckets back and forth every day. Water for drinking. Water for cooking. Water for animals. Water for washing, rarely. 1 bucket is heavy. 2 buckets. Brutal. 10 buckets. Normal medieval morning. Tending animals. Sounds cute, until you try it. Cows don't listen. Pigs don't stop. Sheep run for no reason. Chickens try to escape constantly. Goats judge you. Feeding them, cleaning their pens, milking them, herding them, it's all hard labor. Field work. Planting. Weeding. Harvesting. Carrying bundles of crops. Praying the weather doesn't ruin everything. Your back will bend more than a medieval bow. The truth is simple. You're not ready. Your hands will blister. Your muscles will shake. Your legs will wobble. And the medieval day isn't even half over. The brutal consequences of refusal or incompetence. In the modern world, if you don't know how to do your job, you get training. In medieval times, if you don't know how to do your job, you get yelled at. Or beaten. Or punished. Or fired, which means starving. Refusing work was considered disrespect, laziness, or sin. If a lord gives you a task and you say, "I don't know how," that's not acceptable. If a peasant family shelters you and you don't help with chores, they think you're useless or cursed. And if you mess up, break a tool, someone pays for it, not you, and they won't be happy. Spill grain, that's valuable food wasted. Fail to herd animals properly. Now a cow is running down the road, and the entire village must chase it. Refusal or incompetence isn't just embarrassing, it's dangerous. Your survival depends on being useful. And right now, you are the least useful person in the entire village. Workload differences in medieval society. Not everyone worked the same way. But everyone worked hard. Let's break down the roles. Serfs. The hardest labor. Working from sunrise to sunset in fields they don't own. Chores before and after fieldwork. Taxes paid in crops and labor. Almost no days off. Serfs carried medieval society on their backs. Artisans. Blacksmiths, carpenters, shoemakers, potters. Skilled labor, but still physical. Long hours. Hot fires. Heavy tools. Constant demand. Even learning the craft took years. Servants. Working inside a noble house sounds easier. It is not. Cleaning huge halls. Carrying water around massive buildings. Endless chores. No privacy. Always being watched. Some servants slept on floors. Nobles. Yes, they lived better. Yes, they had comfort. But even nobles had work, managing estates, overseeing workers, settling disputes, running households, attending ceremonies, dealing with politics, and preparing for war. Their work was social, political, and stressful, not physical. But it was still constant. And you? Dropped into this world with no skills, no stamina, and no idea what's happening? Every job feels like it's designed to break you. You try grinding grain, your arms give out. You try carrying water, you spill half of it. You try tending animals, a goat escapes. You try fieldwork, you almost faint. And medieval people notice. They don't understand your weakness. They don't understand your confusion. They don't understand why you don't know basic chores that even 10-year-olds can do. To them, you look lazy, strange, slow, or cursed. Not ideal impressions. The day never ends. Sunrise to sunset. No breaks. No comfort. No complaining. By midday, you're exhausted. By afternoon, you're shaky. By evening, you're ready to collapse. But chores still remain. You must help store food, sweep floors, check on animals, or repair tools. Your back aches. Your hands sting. Your legs burn. And when the sun finally sets, you think, thank goodness. But medieval people just look at you like, that was a light day. So as you lie in bed in your modern world, remember this. The Middle Ages didn't care about comfort. Or ease. Or rest. To survive in medieval times, you needed strength, skill, stamina, and endurance. And you? You're a visitor with none of those things. The day never ends. Not for them. And definitely not for you. But don't worry, here, in your own time, you can rest. You've earned it after imagining one medieval day of work. Take a soft breath. Shake off the imaginary soreness from all that medieval labor. Now we step into another part of life you probably never think about in the modern world. Clothing. Shelter. And the environment that wants you gone. In medieval times, the world itself was a threat. The weather hurt you. The houses didn't protect you. And your clothes? Well, let's just say your medieval outfit would not win any Comfort of the Year awards. Let's ease into this, gently, as we explore why your modern body would cry the moment you stepped outside. Climate without insulation or heating. Today, you have heaters, AC, blankets, thick walls, windows that close tightly, and weather apps that warn you before the sky even thinks about misbehaving. In medieval times? Nothing. Houses were cold in winter, hot in summer, and drafty all year long. Walls were thin. Windows had no glass, just wooden shutters. Cold air slipped in like it paid rent. There was no insulation. Your breath turned into mist inside the house. Your fingers froze even near the fire. To warm up, you had your own body heat. Other people's body heat. One smoky fire in the middle of the house. And that fire? It didn't heat the whole room. It mostly heated the ceiling, and your lungs. Outside, you faced freezing winds. Rainy seasons. Snowstorms. Soaking mud. Sudden heat waves. Hypothermia was common. Heat stroke was common. Weather was not your friend. Coarse wool and scratchy fabrics. Let's talk about the clothes you'd wear. You don't get cotton hoodies. Or soft pajamas. Or fleece blankets. You get wool. Thick, rough, scratchy wool. Medieval outfits were made from coarse wool. Rough linen. Leather. Fur, if you were lucky. Wool was warm, yes. But comfortable? Absolutely not. Picture wearing a sweater made of sandpaper. Now imagine wearing that every day. Also imagine sweating inside it. Also imagine rain soaking it until it weighs 10 kilos. And then, the shoes. Medieval shoes were wooden. Stiff. Loud. Painful. You don't walk, you clunk. Every step is a little punishment. You'd get blisters by noon. Your toes would revolt. And forget about arch support, medieval people didn't even know what arches were. Sleeping arrangements, shared beds, pests, and cold drafts. Now it's night. You're exhausted. You dream of a warm mattress and soft blankets. Instead, welcome to medieval sleeping. Beds were shared. With family. With siblings. Sometimes with strangers. Sometimes with animals. Privacy did not exist. You slept wherever there was space. The mattress? A sack stuffed with straw. Sometimes old straw. Sometimes itchy straw. Sometimes straw with things living inside it. Pests were normal. Fleas. Lice. Bed bugs. Little mystery crawlers that don't have names. If you move in your sleep, the cold drafts sneak under your blanket like thieves. Remember, there's no insulation, no sealed windows, and no central heating. The cold is always waiting. You'd wake up stiff, freezing, itchy, and very confused. Weather dangers, hypothermia and heat stroke. Let's step back outside. In winter, the cold cuts through your wool layers like they're not even there. The air bites your face. Your fingers go numb instantly. Your modern body is not ready for it. Hypothermia can hit fast, especially when you're tired, wet, or hungry. In summer, the heat is brutal. No shade, no breeze, no sunscreen. You work under the sun for hours. You sweat through your clothes. You get dizzy. You feel faint. Medieval people were tough enough to handle it. You wouldn't last long. Rain is constant. Mud is deeper than you expect. Shoes soak through in minutes. And if your wool clothes get wet, they dry slowly. Very slowly. You'll walk around in damp, heavy layers all day, feeling like a soggy medieval burrito. Architectural hazards. Now let's talk about the buildings themselves, your medieval home. These aren't strong houses with safe engineering. They are wooden, smoky, fragile structures with many problems. Fire. Open hearths in the middle of wooden houses? Huge fire hazard. One spark hits dry straw. Goodbye house. Goodbye belongings. Goodbye everything. Medieval towns burned down often, not rarely, not sometimes. Often. Whole neighborhoods went up in flames in minutes. If your clothes catch fire, and they could, your wool outfit won't burn fast, but linen shirts underneath can ignite quickly. And nobody has fire extinguishers. Collapsing roofs. Roofs were made of wood, straw, thatch. Rain leaked in. Wind tore them. Snow weighed them down. Sometimes roofs collapsed unexpectedly. If you were unlucky, that's the end of your medieval adventure. Smoke inhalation. This is a big one. Homes had no chimneys. Just one smoky fire in the middle. Smoke sits inside the house, soaking everything: clothes, beds, lungs. You cough constantly. Your eyes water. Your head aches. And your lungs? They feel like they're hosting a smoke festival. Long-term exposure leads to chronic coughing, lung irritation, infections, early death. And that's normal life. Your modern reactions. Let's imagine your first medieval winter night. You crawl onto a straw mattress. You share the bed with two people you don't know. A chicken is sleeping in the corner. The wind whistles through the walls. You hear rats scurrying in the loft. You feel fleas nibbling on your ankles. You pull your wool blanket up and instantly itch. Smoke stings your throat. Your modern brain whispers, "I want my room. I want my bed. I want my heater. I want a shower." Meanwhile, medieval folks are already asleep, snoring peacefully. Because to them, this is normal. Comfortable even. Why you wouldn't last? In the medieval world, you must endure freezing nights, boiling days, clothes that scratch, shoes that hurt, beds that bite, fires that fill rooms with smoke, roofs that leak, pests that never leave. Your modern body, used to climate control, soft fabrics, warm blankets, and safe buildings, has no chance. Even your sleep would fail. Even your clothes would betray you. Even your home wouldn't protect you. So as you relax now, in your clean bed, with soft sheets, safe walls, and perfect temperature, remember. In medieval times, even resting was a challenge. Every part of the environment wanted to test you. But here, you're safe. Warm. Comfortable. No wooden shoes. No smoky rooms. No goats staring at you while you sleep. Enjoy that. You deserve it. Take a soft, slow breath. Because now we enter one of the most dangerous parts of medieval life, something you probably take for granted every day in the modern world. Travel. In the Middle Ages, travel wasn't an adventure. It wasn't a relaxing trip. It wasn't even a scenic walk. It was a gamble with terrible odds. In fact, leaving your village was often the fastest way to never return. So let's take this gently. A calm bedtime stroll through a world where every road is trying to end you. Roads in terrible condition. Forget smooth highways. Forget sidewalks. Forget clean paths. Medieval roads were muddy, uneven, rocky, full of holes, full of roots, full of water, full of animals, full of everything except actual road. Some roads were so bad that carts broke within minutes. Wheels snapped. Horses stumbled. People tripped. If it rained, the road became a swamp. If it didn't rain, it became dust that choked you. In some seasons, roads were basically rivers. In other seasons, they were like concrete mixed with pain. Your modern shoes would not survive. Your modern feet would lose hope. And you? You would fall down at least 10 times in the first hour. Zero safety for strangers or foreigners. Now imagine you look like a stranger, because you are. You dress weird. You talk weird. You act weird. And medieval people notice instantly. Travelers had no rights. No protection. No safety guaranteed. If locals don't know you, they don't trust you. And if they don't trust you, they treat you like a threat. You walk into a village. Everyone stares. Some whisper. Some back away. Some wonder if you're a spy. Some wonder if you're a thief. Some wonder if you're cursed. You're alone. Strange. Unlabeled. Unclaimed by any lord. That alone is dangerous. Tolls, checkpoints, and suspicious guards. Even if you manage to walk a few miles, you hit another problem: checkpoints. Medieval roads often had toll gates controlled by lords, churches, or whoever felt brave enough to claim authority that day. Guards stood by the road, watching for trouble, and you, unfortunately, look like trouble. A guard stops you. Who's your lord? You don't have one. Where are your papers? You don't have those either. Where are you going? You don't know. Where did you come from? You can't explain that in Middle English. This is not going well. Suspicious guards equals big problem. If they think you're lying, they can detain you, search your things, confiscate items, accuse you of spying, or simply send you back. And sending you back might mean pushing you into a ditch. Even crossing a bridge cost money. If you don't pay, you can't pass. And if you're poor, or a time traveler, well, that's tough. Long distances between villages. In movies, villages look close together. In real medieval life, they were far apart. Hours of walking. Sometimes days. Sometimes longer. No maps. No signs. No clear paths. Just hope in your feet. You'll walk for hours without seeing anyone. Then you'll see a forest. Then more forest. Then a hill. Then more forest. And if you get lost? That's it. Nobody is coming for you. Nobody even knows you exist. Wolves, bandits, illness, starvation. Now let's talk about the fun stuff. Wolves. Yes, real wolves. Large ones. Hungry ones. Medieval wolves didn't care about peaceful intentions. If you look weak, tired, or delicious, you're dinner. Bandits. These were the true kings of the road. Desperate men. Dangerous men. Men who saw travelers as walking treasure chests. They hide in bushes. They jump out with knives. They shout things you won't understand. They take whatever you have, even your clothes. Some let you live. Some don't. Illness. Travel weakens your body. Weather changes hit you. You drink bad water by accident. You eat old food. You get chills. You start coughing. Illness on the road was often fatal. There was no shelter. No doctor. No herbs. No help. You would lie under a tree thinking, this is a terrible vacation. Starvation. Food didn't magically appear. You had to bring it. If it spoiled or ran out, you starved. Medieval travelers carried bread, dried fish, cheese, or whatever they could manage. But you? You don't know how to prepare travel food. You don't even know how long the journey will be. You run out of food by day 1. Now you're walking hungry through endless forests. This is the part where medieval life leans over and whispers. You weren't built for this. Why moving from one place to another was almost a death sentence. Let's put everything together. Travel equals bad roads, bad weather, bad shoes, no protection, no rights, suspicious guards, wild animals, bandits, illness, hunger, exhaustion, and total isolation. Every step is a risk. Every new road is a question mark. Every stranger is a threat. People didn't travel unless they had no choice. Merchants traveled in groups. Pilgrims walked in crowds. Soldiers marched together. Nobody traveled alone, because alone meant dead. So imagine you trying to travel. One confused person. No weapons. No horse. No idea where the next village is. No medieval stamina. No medieval instincts. No medieval knowledge. You would get lost within hours. You would panic. You would run out of food. You would run out of water. You would meet the wrong people. Or the wrong wolf. Or the wrong guard. By sunset, you're exhausted. By the next morning, you're in danger. By the next night, the odds are against you. This is why medieval travel was almost a death sentence. People didn't wander for fun. They didn't explore for curiosity. They stayed home because the world outside was raw, wild, and unforgiving. Meanwhile, you are safe. Here, in your bed, in your warm home, with your comfortable sheets and safe streets, you can travel anywhere with one click. But in the Middle Ages? A simple walk to the next village might be the last thing you ever do. Rest well knowing your roads today are smooth, your travel is safe, and your biggest travel problem might be a delayed bus. Not wolves. Take a long, slow breath. You've survived medieval food, work, travel, and every strange thing this world has thrown at you. But now we reach one of the most unpredictable parts of medieval life, something you couldn't escape no matter where you were. War, raiders, and disasters that came out of nowhere. The Middle Ages look peaceful in paintings, green fields, cute villages, quiet castles. But the reality? Constant tension. Constant danger. Constant fear hiding in the background like a shadow you can't shake. Let's step into this gently, even though the subject is anything but gentle. Raids, skirmishes, and feudal conflicts. The medieval world wasn't one big unified country. It was a messy puzzle of lords, kings, nobles, and families who all believed they owned something: land, rights, people, taxes, even rivers. And when two lords disagreed, they didn't talk it out calmly. They grabbed weapons. Small fights called skirmishes broke out all the time. 5 men versus 5 men. 20 versus 10. A surprise attack at dawn. A feud that spilled into fields. Sometimes one lord claimed the village you're standing in. Sometimes another lord claimed that same village. Guess who gets caught in the middle? You. You don't know which side is which. You don't know whose colors are whose. You don't know if you're supposed to run, hide, bow, or pretend you're a tree. Sieges, starvation, disease, chaos. Now imagine the worst version of medieval conflict, a siege. A siege is when an enemy army surrounds a castle or town and waits. And waits. And waits. They block roads, rivers, food deliveries, water sources, escape routes. Inside the walls, people panic. Food runs low. Water becomes scarce. Disease spreads fast because everyone is stuck together. We're talking fever, dysentery, infections, the whole medieval disaster package. The smell gets worse. Tempers get shorter. Supplies get thinner. People eat anything they can find, even things you don't want to imagine at bedtime. Outside the walls, soldiers camp. Campfires burn. Arrows fly occasionally just to remind everyone who's in charge. A siege could last weeks, months, even years. And you, the modern visitor? You don't have the stamina, the immune system, or the medieval patience to survive a siege. You don't even have a comfortable place to sit. Armed men enforcing lords' claims. Let's say you're lucky enough to avoid battles and sieges. You might still meet the fun group known as armed retainers, basically medieval enforcers. These men rode around enforcing the lord's rules. Collecting taxes. Checking land boundaries. Arresting troublemakers. Dealing with disputes. Reminding people who owns everything. They were armed. They were trained. And they did not negotiate. If someone claimed your village belonged to their lord, these men could storm in with swords raised, seize property, or take prisoners. And you, a stranger with no legal status and no lord to back you up, look like someone who should be questioned harshly. Imagine a group of armed men riding toward you. You freeze. They shout something in Middle English. You don't understand. You reply in modern English. Now they think you're lying. Or deaf. Or foreign. Or suspicious. Either way, your day is ruined. Vikings, Mongols, and regional raiders. Depending on where, and when, you appear in medieval history, you might encounter raiders from faraway places. Vikings. If you're in Northern Europe around the early medieval period, raiders might appear on longships. They move fast, hit hard, steal everything, and vanish before you blink. You hear distant shouting. You hear metal clashing. Next thing you know, flames rise. People run. Doors break. Your survival instinct screams, hide. Mongols. If you land in the wrong century in Eastern Europe or Asia, the Mongol armies might sweep through. They were fast, organized, skilled, and terrifying. Entire cities fell in days. And you definitely cannot outrun a Mongol cavalry. Regional raiders. Even without Vikings or Mongols, every region had local raiders. River pirates. Mountain bandits. Coastal raiders. Border rebels. Deserters from armies. Desperate peasants with nothing to lose. These groups attacked villages, robbed travelers, looted farms, and left chaos behind. Travelers like you? Perfect targets. Why ordinary people lived in constant low-level fear. Imagine living in a world where there's no news. No internet. No alerts. No police. No safe zones. Number 9/11. No GPS. No warning before danger arrives. You don't know if a war is coming until you hear shouting. You don't know if raiders are nearby until you see smoke. You don't know who controls your land until armed men show up demanding taxes. People woke up every day not knowing if today would be normal. Or if the entire village would burn. Children were taught where to hide. Women were taught to run. Men were taught to fight or surrender. Everyone slept with fear tucked next to their blankets. Even peaceful years felt tense. Because people knew peace could end any moment. And you, dropped into this world with no knowledge, no weapons, and no clue, would feel that fear instantly. Your modern mind might say, let's talk this out. Medieval people would say, run. Now. Because they've seen what happens when danger comes. Your survival odds. Let's put all this together. You are unarmed, untrained, lost, physically weak by medieval standards, unable to understand orders, unable to shout warnings, unable to identify friend versus enemy, unable to fight, unable to hide well. And medieval dangers are fast, sudden, brutal, confusing, everywhere. If a raid happened, you would be the first person to freeze. If soldiers stormed in, you'd stand there blinking. If someone yelled instructions, you wouldn't understand them. If people ran, you'd run the wrong way. And if arrows started flying, your story would end instantly. But now, you're safe. As you lie in your warm modern bed, remember this. In the Middle Ages, every day carried a shadow. Fear lived in every home. Danger lived around every corner. War and raiders moved like storms, unexpected, fast, destructive. People survived through instinct, community, and hard lessons passed down through generations. You are just visiting this world in your imagination. A peaceful visit to a very unpeaceful time. Sleep softly knowing that the only battles you'll face tomorrow are emails, traffic, and maybe a long line at the store. Much safer than Vikings. Take a slow, calming breath. You've made it through an entire medieval day, somehow. You dodged sickness, bad food, angry peasants, suspicious guards, and the violent outdoors. Now the sun is sinking. Shadows stretch. The sky turns deep blue. Congratulations. You made it to nightfall. But your final test is just beginning. What a medieval night feels like. In the modern world, nighttime is full of sound, cars, lights, distant voices, screens glowing. Even the darkest places aren't truly dark. Medieval night is different. Completely different. It is silent, cold, and black in a way you've never known. When the sun goes down, the world disappears. Villagers hurry home. Doors close. Windows shutter. Fires are banked low. Voices go quiet. No nightlife. No evening strolls. No quick run to the store. You stand outside, and the silence feels heavy. You can hear your own breath. The wind through the trees. Maybe an owl. Maybe footsteps you can't see. The world seems to shrink. Your senses sharpen. Your heartbeat feels louder. And then it gets dark. True darkness. The kind that swallows everything. Your modern eyes panic. There is no horizon. No landmarks. No comforting glow of city lights. Just blackness. No streetlights, no lamps, no bright comfort. Let's talk about lighting. Or really, the lack of it. There are no streetlights. No electric lamps. No glowing windows. Just darkness and maybe, if you're lucky, a candle or two. The only lights available are tallow candles, they smell a little like meat. Simple oil lamps. Torches, if someone important is around. Moonlight, if the sky is feeling generous. And tallow candles? They barely help. The flame is tiny. The smoke is strong. The smell is, well, unique. Your candle flickers. The wind tries to kill it. Your hand shakes because every sound in the darkness makes you jump. Even inside, darkness dominates. Fireplaces glow weakly. Shadows dance on the walls. Corners of the room vanish. And your mind? It fills in the blanks. Superstition surrounding night. Remember, medieval people lived in a world filled with spirits, demons, witches, fairies, ghosts, omens, curses, signs, and creatures in the dark. Nighttime was the realm of everything unseen and unexplained. People believed. Witches flew at night. Spirits wandered. Demons whispered in the dark. The dead visited. Monsters roamed fields and forests. So when the sun set, fear rose. Nobody walked alone in the dark unless they had to. Doors were locked. Crosses were drawn. Candles were blessed. Prayers were whispered. And you, someone who doesn't know any of these rituals, look strangely calm or strangely confused. Both are suspicious. If you walk confidently at night, villagers might think. Why is he not afraid? Does he know dark magic? If you look scared, they think. He doesn't know how to protect himself. That's suspicious. Either way, not great for you. The danger of moving around in the darkness. Let's say, by some miracle, you step outside at night. Instant regret. You cannot see the ground. You trip over roots. You step in mud. You fall into holes. You walk into fences. You scare animals who scare you back. And the forest? Don't even think about entering it. Trees look like giants. Branches grab at you like claws. Every sound feels like danger. You hear something moving. You freeze. Your candle flickers. Your hands shake. Is it a wolf? A dog? A person? A ghost? Your imagination doesn't help. Your eyes strain to make shapes in the dark. Your pulse races. And then you realize something. You are completely alone. In a world that does not want you walking around at night. Even the roads are dangerous. Loose stones. Broken branches. Hidden ditches. Fast-running streams you can't see. One misstep equals injury. And as we know, medieval injuries don't end well. Night watchmen, suspicious of everyone. But the greatest danger at night isn't wolves or spirits, it's people. Many towns had night watchmen, men tasked with patrolling the streets, catching thieves, and stopping trouble. And to them, anyone wandering at night is immediately suspicious. A watchman sees your silhouette in the dark. He approaches fast. Torchlight flickers across his face. He shouts something you don't understand. You panic. He panics because you panicked. Now everyone panics. You try to explain yourself in modern English. He hears nonsense. He steps closer, gripping his weapon. This stranger is hiding something, he thinks. He might drag you to the Lord's Hall. Beat you for resisting. Accuse you of spying. Assume you're a thief. Assume you're cursed. Assume you're lost, which is correct. And if you run? Oh no. Running in the dark equals guilt. He will chase you. You will fall. He will catch you. Your medieval day just got a lot worse. If you actually make it through the night. Let's imagine the best scenario. You found shelter. You're inside a smoky room with other villagers. The wind howls outside. Mice scratch in the walls. A baby cries. Someone snores like a bear. You lie on a straw mattress that pokes you through your clothes. Your blanket is heavy wool that smells like animals. You're tired, itchy, confused, and cold. But you're alive. You made it to the end of a medieval day. And that is a huge achievement. The darkness settles. Your candle burns low. You hear the fire crackle. Your eyes close slowly. Outside, the medieval night continues. Full of secrets, danger, superstition, and silence. But for now, you rest. Safe, for the moment, hidden from the darkness. Back to your bed. And as you lay in your warm modern bed, think about this. In the Middle Ages, nightfall was not peaceful. It was not relaxing. It was not cozy time. It was the final test of the day. A test of fear, caution, and survival. And you? Your modern senses, your modern comfort, your modern habits would betray you the moment the sun disappeared. But here, now, the night is soft. Your room is warm. Your lights obey you. And nothing is waiting in the dark. Sleep well knowing medieval night cannot touch you. Unless you visit it again in the next chapter. Take one last slow breath. You've made it through one full medieval day, from the muddy morning to the pitch-black night. You've traveled roads, dodged danger, swallowed questionable food, faced suspicious villagers, and survived a world that did not want soft modern people wandering around. Now, as we settle into this final chapter, let's gently reflect on everything you've seen. No rush. No fear. Just a soft, calm ending to a very rough historical adventure. Summarizing the harsh realities you faced. Think back to the morning, when you first opened your eyes in that muddy village or noisy medieval town. Everything was unfamiliar, the smells, the sounds, the chaos. Even the air felt like it was judging you. Then you walked outside and discovered. No clean water. No hygiene. No privacy. Animals everywhere. People shouting things you didn't understand. Your day only got harder. The food was risky, maybe spoiled, maybe full of fungus, maybe just cooked badly. Your stomach suffered. Your pride suffered. Even your taste buds were scared. Then you learned the social structure. One wrong look, one wrong word, one wrong bow, and your day could have ended quickly. Medieval society had a strict ladder, and you were not on it. You faced deadly hygiene, deadly air, deadly food, deadly laws, deadly misunderstandings, deadly weather, deadly work, deadly travel, deadly nights. Basically, everything was deadly except maybe the village cat, and even the cat might have judged you. You saw how fragile medieval life was. How one bad cut, one angry lord, one wrong road, one unlucky moment could change everything. And yet, people lived it. People survived it. People built families, farms, friendships, traditions, and hope in a world full of danger. You, however, would not last long. Why modern humans are unprepared. Now let's gently explore why. Modern humans live with clean water, medicine, soft clothes, heat and AC, safe roads, laws that protect you, rights that matter, comfortable beds, privacy, food that doesn't try to kill you. You don't carry knives for survival. You don't fear wolves on the way to the store. You don't fight neighbors over land boundaries. You don't wake up thinking, I hope I don't get accused of witchcraft today. Medieval people had stronger bodies, stronger stomachs, stronger instincts, and stronger tolerance for suffering. They grew up in a world that shaped them like iron. You grew up in a world that shaped you more like a pillow. A very nice pillow. There's no shame in that. Comfort is not a weakness, it's a blessing. But it does mean that when you step into medieval life, you become the most fragile thing in a 5-mile radius. Modern humans also struggle socially in the medieval world. We talk too directly. We ask too many questions. We expect explanations. We act confident. We wear expressive faces. We stand too close or too far. We forget to bow. Everything about us screams, I don't belong here. And mentally? The stress of medieval life would crush most modern minds. Constant fear. Constant uncertainty. Constant discomfort. Constant danger. Your nervous system would be on high alert all day. Your emotions wouldn't have a moment to rest. Every sound, every movement, every glare would feel like a warning. It is no wonder most modern people wouldn't survive even 24 hours. A gentle, soothing bedtime reflection. But now, let's soften the mood. Because this isn't just a story about hardship, it's also a story about gratitude. As we drift away from medieval noise and step back into the quiet of your own room, think about what you have now. You can drink clean water anytime. You can eat food that won't poison you. You can sleep on a soft bed. You can wear clothes that don't itch like angry wool. You can walk outside at night without fearing raiders or wolves. You can travel miles safely in minutes, not days. You can go to a hospital and get actual medicine, not leeches. You have rights. You have protection. You have comfort. You have peace. Your world isn't perfect, no world is, but compared to the Middle Ages, it's a paradise. And sometimes, remembering the past helps us appreciate what we have now. Warm rooms, safe streets, soft lights, calm nights, clean air, and the ability to fall asleep without wondering if the roof will collapse. Ending on a peaceful note, drifting back to the modern world. So imagine this. You're standing at the edge of that medieval village one last time. The sun has set. The smoke rises from hearth fires. Voices fade. The shadows grow soft. Then a breeze moves across your skin, warm, modern air. Streetlights flicker back into existence. Cars hum in the distance. Your world gently replaces the medieval one, piece by piece. The mud turns into pavement. The wooden huts fade into buildings. The dark sky brightens with city lights. And you step back into your life. Clean, warm, safe. You leave behind the danger, the fear, the chaos, the confusion. You keep only the lesson. You are lucky to live now. Lucky to have comfort. Lucky to have safety. Lucky to have a world that lets you rest. So close your eyes. Let go of the medieval world. Let it fade like a dream behind you. You made it through one impossible day, and now you return to your own time. Breathe softly. Relax your shoulders. Feel the calm settle in. The past is far away now. The present is warm and gentle. And you? You're safe. You're home. And you can drift peacefully into sleep.